Hi everyone, it's Matt Payne here with Matthew Payne Consulting, where we help sales professionals and entrepreneurs like yourself how to very tactically and strategically increase your productivity and performance so that you can see measurable new results fast. And in today's video, we're going to talk about influence and persuasion, and specifically how you can become more persuasive and attractive with your communication so that you can help and lead other people to the desired solutions that are ultimately best for them. Because no matter how good of a communicator you are, have you ever wondered why at times people don't do what you want them to do? Why do people disagree with you? Why don't they conspire to your vision? If you're an entrepreneur or a leader, and personally I think we're all leaders. We lead ourselves, we lead within our community, we lead our business, we lead our families. But as leaders, why don't people collaborate to our way of thinking or our vision? If we're in sales, and hey, aren't we all in sales? Today in the 21st century, we're constantly selling our ideals, our beliefs, our values, but regardless of our job, why at times do our customers not buy? Why don't they buy our products and our services? Why do they say no? And how do we get them to say yes more often? Well, obviously, some of this is just going to come down to differences, right? Differences in opinions, beliefs, and goals. But my question for you is this: are there people out there today, those rare, unique individuals that have this magnetic ability to connect with people in such a way as to where they can really win over the hearts, minds, and imaginations of other people and move them and get them to take action and do what they want them to do? Are there people out there that can do this? Yes or no? Absolutely, and that's exactly what today's video is going to be on. How you can do this for yourself anytime, any place, anywhere. Because influence, like any other quality, is a learnable skill. So thanks for tuning in. Throughout this video series, we've been talking about leadership, and specifically what exceptional leaders do and get control of that really gives them this ability to produce extraordinary results in the moment. And once again, I just want to thank all of you for your results, your feedback, your posts, your comments as to how those first two videos that I sent you is really making a difference and impacting your productivity and your success. So thank you for that. Also, I want to give a shout out. I know we're getting a flood of new members into the community here, which I just think is fantastic. I just want to welcome you and say I'm so happy that you're here, and I'll continue to send out these kinds of video resources and tools. So thank you for that. As I mentioned earlier, we've been talking about the leadership framework, which is really a model for change and achievement and how to accelerate this process. And it basically explains that when you and I take control of and make slight changes within our psychology, our time, and our ability to communicate with other people, we can see exponential increases in our productivity and results. And not only that, if we're underperforming or underachieving, many times it can be traced back to deficiencies within one or all of these three variables. And I gotta tell you, this really hit home for me several years back, because back in the day, I had not developed this framework yet. I didn't have this model, so I didn't have a holistic, strategic way of evaluating and running my business and my personal life. And as a result, I paid a price. I suffered in certain areas, and it was really frustrating for me because I love helping people. And as I was going out around the country, helping people break through and achieve their goals, I was helping them achieve, but there were areas of my life that weren't working at the level that I know they could. And the gift that came out of that problem was that it really forced me to kind of step back and really reevaluate everything that I'd learned over the course of my career in 15 years as a professional speaker, seminar leader, corporate trainer, consultant, and coach, and really go deeper into the sciences of change and achievement. Everything from my background in neurolinguistics to studying neuroscience, psychology, leadership, influence, negotiation, and that's when I had the breakthrough. And I realized that lasting achievement and success is not one-dimensional. It's multifaceted. What I mean by that is that there are very specific components that drive lasting change and success. There's a psychological component that drives change and success based on how you think, how you evaluate. There's an organizational component that drives success based on how you live, how you invest your time, how you're able to kind of avoid distractions and interruptions so you're more productive. And there's a strategic component that drives change based on how you behave and how you interact, how you communicate. And these three are always working moment by moment to influence your productivity, your success, and happiness. So I really move into this in a greater level of depth in the first two videos. So if you didn't have a chance to watch that, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and resend you that link so you can access that. What I want to move into right now is the strategic component that drives change, which is communication. See, think about this right now, but how important is communication to our livelihood and our lifestyle today in the 21st century. You know, we live in a world today where technology has made it very easy for us to communicate with people around the world, anytime, any place, anywhere. Think of the greatest leaders that ever lived. Yes, they were all men and women of stature, but one of the reasons was because they were brilliant communicators. They could convey their thoughts and ideas in such a way with other people and get people to act on those ideas. They could move the masses. They could get other people to collaborate and conspire to their vision, their way of thinking. And the people that do this today, they run society. They run the institutions, the organizations, the communities, the companies. They're the centers of influence. See, what advantage would it give you in your business and in your lifestyle, your personal life, if you could profoundly expand your ability to impact and influence other people anytime, any place, anywhere? I mean, to me, in the 21st century, that is the ultimate advantage. So how do we do this? Well, first we have to understand a little bit about what makes up our communication, because most people think when they're communicating, it's just language. It's just dialogue, but it's more than that. And especially today with the explosion of social media and the internet now, you have a lot of people that are communicating, exchanging information, but very few are really connecting with people in such a way as to really win over the hearts, minds, and imaginations of others and get them to take action. So how do we do this? Well, we have to understand the model of communication. And that's what I want to move into right now. So this is the communication model, and as you can clearly see, it's important because it breaks up our communication into three parts. And that's critical. What this model really shows us is that the weight or the meaning of the message that we send others and they're receiving is not equally balanced at all. And I got to tell you, most psychologists and sociologists agree with these percentages here. So there's a couple of rules that you want to keep in mind when you're communicating or when you're interacting with other people. Rule number one is this: communication is redundant. Communication is redundant. What that really means is that you cannot not communicate. You are always sending and receiving messages. You're always sending messages to other people. The real question is this: what are the messages that you're sending, and how do you go about sending them to other people? I think it was the great essayist Emerson said, "Who you are shouts so loudly at me, I don't even hear what you're saying." So that's the first rule. The second rule when it comes to how you interact with other people is this, is that your communication is the responses and the reactions that you get from other people. Your communication is the responses and the reactions that you get from other people. And that's kind of a big pill to swallow, but here's what it means. Many times when you meet people for the first time, human beings are kind of like chameleons. They'll reflect back to you what you put out to them. So if you don't like the responses or the reactions that you're getting in certain situations, you either got to change what you're communicating or you change how you go about communicating. And this model is going to be key in showing us how to do that. So let's look at this. 55%, 38%, and 7% is communication. So if we look right here, 55% of the message that we send and other people receive, the meaning of the message is controlled by this. So if you were to take a shot at it, what do you think is controlling 55% of the message that you're sending and they're receiving? Just take a guess. What do you think it is? Well, you're absolutely right. If you guessed body language, you're spot on. Body language or posture is 55% of the message of the meaning that you're sending and they're receiving. Another word for it is physiology. Physiology is a fancy word for how you move, breathe, and gesture. So think about that for a moment. 55% of your communication that other people receive has nothing to do with what you're saying. And most people have absolutely no clue of how to strategically position themselves with strangers. More about that in a moment. So 55% of that has nothing to do. You know, if I say to you something like, hey, how you doing? That means one thing, right? But if I say, hey, how you doing? You know, it means something different. How you doing? Right? Sorry, just kidding. My point is that if I say, hey, this, yeah, we're going to do that. Yeah, we're going to do that. That means something. But if I say, yeah, we're going to do that, means something entirely different. So body language is critical. And this is all based on something that we call congruent communication. And this is so critical. Congruent communication is when your voice, your body, and your words all match up. That's called congruent communication. And I learned this years ago because I learned that when two people meet, if there's rapport, if there's that enhanced feeling of trust and responsiveness between two people, more about that later on, that if the person likes you and trusts you, if there's rapport between you and the other person, the person that is more congruent in their communication, they'll influence the person every single time. So pay attention to body language. Think about it. If 55% of the message that we're sending and they're receiving is being controlled by our posture and our body language, do we need to pay attention to how we're moving, breathing, gesturing, and how we're carrying ourselves non-verbally? I mean, this is the majority of the message. So think about that for a moment. Let's move up to now 38%. If you were to take a shot at it, what do you think carries 38% now? 55% is body language or physiology. 38% is what? What do you think it is? Well, if you guessed tonality, you, my friend, are spot on. That's 38% tonality or tonal emphasis. You know, what we've learned is that just by changing the tonality or tonal emphasis, it changes the meaning of the message and the words themselves. Try this on for size. If I said to you right now, I told you you shouldn't have done that, that means one thing, right? If I said, I told you you shouldn't have done that, it means something else. If I say, I told you you shouldn't have done that, that means something entirely different. So just by changing the tonality or the tonal emphasis, it can be very, very magnetic and powerful based on how you communicate with other people. You know, I really believe that one of the indispensable qualities of exceptional leaders, people that we revere, is that they have a certain level of charisma. They have a certain level of just appeal or likability or charm about them. And so many people say, well, you know, that can't be taught. Some people are born with it. Some people have it. Some people don't. That is garbage. You want to know what charisma is when you're communicating? Please remember this. It is passion in action. Charisma is passion in action. Think about it. When you meet somebody that's very passionate about what they're doing or what they do, I mean, yeah, you see it, but if they're expressing it, if they're talking about it, you hear it in their voice, don't you? You hear that passion in their voice. So think about this for a moment. How can you become more persuasive and attractive with your tonality? I mean, imagine what's something in your life right now that you're completely passionate about? Whether it's your children, whether it's a hobby, something you love to do, what's something that you absolutely dive into, that you love to do? And imagine yourself communicating that to your best friend. Does your tonality shift, yes or no? There's no question about it. So what are some things that we can do with our tonality to become more persuasive and attractive in certain settings? What if you were able to shift your speed? You ever notice when you talk a little bit faster like that? Does that build excitement and appeal, yes or no? So speed is one thing that you can do with your tonality. What if you were to lower your voice a little bit and speak a little bit softer, like you're letting somebody in on a secret, right at that point where you're making that key proposal or you're about to present your offer, and you lower your voice and you say, you know, you said that this was really important. What if we were able to do this? Or what if we were able to, do you feel that this might help? And you lower your voice and you kind of whisper. Does that build desire, yes or no? I think it does. What about pausing? What if you subtly pause within key moments? Does that build interest? Does that create attention and positive tension, yes or no? Absolutely. So tonality is critical. Notice, what do you do with your tonality when you're passionate, when you're excited about something? And now let's move up here. What do you think is 7%? This is the smallest portion of communication. Of the message that we're sending and they're receiving, 7%, as you obviously might have thought, is words and language. So think about this. 93% of our communication is non-linguistic. Now, first of all, I want to emphasize this. I am in no way, shape, or form. I don't want to downplay language and words, because words have power. In a few moments later on, I'm going to share with you something called covert persuasion patterns, how you can sincerely and subtly use your language with volition and intention to literally control to reframe things so that people change how they feel about you, how they feel about your offers, your products, and your services. I mean, all you need to do is read Emerson or Shakespeare or Thoreau to realize that words have power. But the problem is in a face-to-face setting, when we're communicating with other people, the words alone, words without body language and words without tonal emphasis or tonality, it renders the person, most of their message, it renders it impotent. Does that make sense? So knowing what we know now, how do we really bring all of this together in such a way so that we can become better influencers, so that we can be more persuasive and attractive with our communication? Understanding that if 55% is body language, 38% is tonality, and 7% is words, how do we bring all of this together so that we make a good first impression? Because, have you ever met somebody and you didn't really know them that well, but you liked them? You trusted them. You felt that they had your best intentions in mind. They kind of rubbed you the right way. You got a good intuition about them. We've all had those experiences before, right? See, would it be useful for you if you could, in any context, position yourself as the most charismatic, likable, trustworthy, competent person in that room in any context? Will that give you an edge? Absolutely. So how do we do that? Well, first we have to understand is this: our first impression is important, yes or no? When you meet somebody for the first time, what happens? They stamp an impression of you in their mind. They get a feeling about you, and then within the next minute or two, they start looking for reasons to reinforce that feeling. So knowing what we know, if body language controls the majority of the meaning of the message, how do we really position ourselves in an intelligent, strategic way for the first time? Well, a lot of this just comes down to common sense. A lot of this just comes down to being a likable person, for crying out loud. I was thinking about this the other day, but I really think that when you meet somebody for the first time in certain settings, there's two types of people out there in the world. There's appreciators and there's depreciators. Appreciators are just that. They appreciate you. They appreciate the environment. They appreciate life. They appreciate this kind of conversation. They're usually joyful. They're cheerful. They're optimistic. They usually have big goals, dreams, and aspirations. They talk about what they want, what they've got, what they're grateful for. Even if there's problems in their life, they look at those problems as temporary, and they build you up. They add value to you in the conversation. They're interested in you. They're interested in life. And they really elevate the energy of everybody in the room around them. And you just want to be around them. And we've all met people like that, right? And then there's just the opposite. Then there's depreciators in life. And depreciators devalue everything. Everything to them is a problem and a crisis. The world is conspiring against them. They constantly talk about what they can't do, can't have, can't make happen, can't afford. They talk about their problems all day long and they wonder why they never go away. Life is conspiring against them. They're unlucky and everything is a crisis. And you almost feel sorry for these people, but truthfully, you just want to get the heck away from them. And the question I have for you is, which are you? Which are you? Now, personally, I believe you're an appreciator of life. I mean, come on, the person that would actually watch this kind of program is definitely more of an appreciator of life. You have goals, dreams, and desires. You want to be a better communicator. You want to be the best leader that you can be in any situation. So I really believe you're an appreciator of life. But my point is that how would others perceive you in certain contexts that haven't met you yet, that don't really know you? And would it be useful for you if, once again, you could position yourself as the most likable, trustworthy, charismatic, competent person in that room? Would that give you an edge as a leader, yes or no? I think it would. So how do we do it? And that moves into what I want to talk about right now, called the model, what I call UTP. UTP. So UTP stands for Unconscious Tools of Persuasion. And really what it is it's a way for you to unconsciously trigger outside a person's conscious awareness. It's a way for you to trigger feelings inside people that you're the most charismatic, competent, likable, trustworthy person in that room. It's really a way for you to carry yourself non-verbally or strategically position yourself in the best possible way so that you're putting your best foot forward. Because remember what we said? How important are first impressions? Within the first 4 to 10 seconds, people stamp an impression of you in their mind, and within the next minute or two, they look for reasons to reinforce that impression. And then after that, usually they decide within that same 2 minutes whether or not they're going to buy from you, do business with you, agree with you, work with you in the future. So it's absolutely powerful. And here's the interesting thing. Most people have no clue how to really position themselves non-verbally. They have no clue. I'll give you a great example of this. I do a lot of work with people in sales, and a lot of people in sales will take courses, read books, take classes on how to be more effective salespeople. So they'll learn techniques on how to close more, on how to sell more effectively, overcome objections, get more business for themselves, prospect, ask for referrals, and all of that's useful. But what do you think they primarily focus on? They focus just on the words. But the words, remember, is only 7% of the communication. So they don't know anything about congruency. Remember how to get your words, your body, and your tonality to match up. They don't know anything about that. They don't know anything about unconscious tools of persuasion, how to carry themselves non-verbally. And they don't know anything about tonality or tonal emphasis or voice inflection. So they've got 7% working for them, and 93% of their message is totally impotent. So I think you're going to find this model very useful in pretty much any kind of context. Now, a couple of things you want to remember about unconscious tools of persuasion. First of all, none of these are set in stone, okay? All of this is context dependent. In other words, how you carry yourself at a ball game or a sporting event or, a bar or some sort of social environment could be totally different than how you carry yourself in a professional environment. Does that make sense? But I think you're going to find that as you use these tools out socially, professionally, and personally, your persuasiveness and attractiveness and your ability to lead other people is going to elevate significantly. So let's dive into these. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this. So soften, this is an acronym, soften, and then obviously each letter in this word stands for a way to carry yourself non-verbally, what I call an unconscious tool of persuasion. So what do you think S stands for? If you were to take a shot at it, what do you think S stands for? S stands for, take this off here, S stands for smile. S stands for smile. We know a lot of things about smiling, and this may seem obvious to you, but when you smile, it instantly changes your mood. It raises your self-esteem. When you smile just for yourself, it actually stimulates endorphins and serotonin in your body, which is the body's natural, pleasurable, happy drug. Also, when you smile at somebody else, it raises their self-esteem. It makes them feel important and appreciated. When you meet somebody for the first time, have you ever met somebody and they're just so excited and happy to see you? Can you tell in a heartbeat? Can you tell when people are genuinely and sincerely interested in you? Absolutely. And one of the ways is because they smile. Another thing about smiling, it is a universal way in most cultures to project confidence, likability, and trust. So when you smile at somebody, you make them feel important. I think it was Dale Carnegie said years ago in that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said, if you tell me what makes a man or woman feel important, I'll tell you the entire direction of their life. So smiling is key. It raises your self-esteem, it increases and elevates your mood, and it actually increases the self-esteem of other people around you. Smiling is critical. When you walk into a room, are your shoulders back? When you walk into a room, do you project a level of confidence? Are you smiling? Is there a smile on your face? Makes a difference. Let's go into the next one. What does O stand for? O stands for open body language. Open body language. Now, this is so key. Here's what we know. When you're talking with somebody and you're meeting them and your feet are faced forward to them and you're open and your posture is more open, usually what happens is the more you open up here when your palms are open like this, people tend to open up their mind. And the reason is because your vital organs for survival are right here. You'll never see a martial artist or a fighter come in like this. Okay? You just won't see that. They'll be like this, or they'll be guarded, or this and that. So the more you face your feet forward to somebody and you open up, the more you open up your palms, the more people open up to you. One of the things, if somebody's closed off, now this doesn't necessarily mean that they're not interested in what you're saying. If I'm talking with you right now and my arms are closed, but I'm nodding my head, I'm looking at you, I'm making good eye contact, I could just be cold, right? So you got to realize that sometimes people just misread these kind of signals. But one of the things we've done research on this. If you hand somebody something and you get them to move their posture or move their body, The mind and the body are completely linked. It will change how they feel. We'll talk about that in a moment, something about called proxemics and how to use space. But remember, the more people open up here, the more you open up your posture, usually people will take that as a sign that you're likable, trustworthy, and open to them as well. The other thing is this: the next time you're making an offer or you're making a presentation or you're about ready to get ready to make a suggestion, try opening up your palms. Say something like, you know, you said this is important. What if we were able to do this? Do you feel in your opinion that this might help? And you open up your palms and watch the magic happen. O stands for open. What does F stand for? F stands for forward lean. Forward lean. And now this is all based on space. Now this is important for you to know. Most people have a 3-foot bubble. And anything inside that 3 feet is what we call the intimate zone. And you don't want to go past it unless it's your spouse, okay? We've all had the experience where we're talking with somebody and they are just invading our space and they are way too close. And how does that make you feel? What you want to do is push them, and usually they have bad breath, right? Right? So you want to be real careful with that. But know that the more you can lean in, the more you're leaning in, facing them, it makes them feel appreciated and respected. The other thing with space or forward lean is this, is that usually when you're talking to somebody, it's kind of me and you and I, right? But if you could imagine me coming through the screen right now, or coming through your smartphone, and as I'm talking to you, what if I did this? What if I turned over and I just aligned with you so you're right there? So it's no longer me and you and I, but it's we, it's us, it's together. It can be very powerful, so use space. This is called proxemics. Use your proximity and use your space to your advantage. Remember, the more you lean in, the more it makes people feel appreciated, heard, and understood by you. So F stands for forward lean. Now this is a bit, what does T stand for? T stands for touch. When appropriate, okay? When appropriate. All the gropers out there got real excited for a moment. Here's what I mean by touch, sorry. What I mean by touch is that when appropriate, you'll gain more trust, you'll gain more rapport, more about that in a moment, by a friendly tap on the shoulder than you ever will with trying to, ask the right questions or words or anything else like that. So touch, when appropriate, can be critical. A friendly tap on the shoulder or tap on the back is very useful at times. So you want to use touch, but use it strategically. Obviously, if somebody's standing back like this and they've got this deer in the headlights look, you don't want to go over there and try to grab them and touch them, okay? You could get slugged, okay? Okay? So use touch when appropriate. What does E stand for? What do you think E stands for? Well, if you guessed, eye contact. You are spot on, eye contact. Now, I want to qualify this because I've read volumes and volumes of book on this. There's a lot of people, okay, now this varies from culture to culture. This varies from culture to culture, but in the American culture, there's a lot of people in sales, okay, that have been taught that if they want to make a good impression with somebody, what they need to do is do this. They need to stare you in the eyes for 4 minutes straight and look you in the eyes without blinking, because that's going to let you know that, hey, I care about you and I'm a professional and we're making a connection here. Let me ask you a question. What type of people stare you in the eyes for 4 minutes straight without blinking? What type of people do that? Stalkers, that's who, right? People that need to be locked up. They belong in prison. Most normal human beings look away. So good eye contact is this. It's the eye-nose triangle. And good eye contact is usually about 3 to 4 seconds, and then look away. Give them the space, okay? Another thing you can do with your eyes is when you meet somebody, you can raise your eyebrows. You can give them kind of an eyebrow flash that lets you know that you're really engaged with them. So good eye contact is critical, all right? And then the final one is this. What do you think N stands for? N stands for nodding your head. N stands for nodding your head. Now this is powerful. Have you ever met somebody and you're talking to them? And in psychology, we actually call this unconditional positive regard. But this is called feedback. The more you nod your head and the more you kind of give people this nonverbal feedback, it lets them know that what they're saying to you and what you're saying to them is getting through. You ever met somebody and you're trying to talk to them and they're just stone-faced? They're giving you no signals whatsoever. They're absolutely stone-faced. They're like a sphinx, It's like you're thinking, can you be any less animated? So the more you nod your head, what it does is it actually influences people at a nonverbal level. We've done studies on this, but what we found is that right when you're about ready to make your offer or make a suggestion to somebody, if you say, if we were able to do that, do you think that might help? and you kind of open up your palms like that and you nod your head, what happens is unconsciously people's suggestibility towards what you're offering will increase drastically. So always remember to use these when appropriate, but these kind of tools, when used in the appropriate context, none of them are written in stone, okay? But when used in the appropriate context, can give you an incredible advantage in your ability to communicate and influence other people. So let me ask you this. Now that you've positioned yourself as the most charismatic, competent, likable, trustworthy person in the room, the bottom line is this: how do we really get other people to take action and do what we want them to do? If we're in sales, how do we get our clients and customers to buy right now? If we're in a leadership role, how do we get other people to take action and conspire to our way of thinking and conspire to our vision? How do we actually do that? Well, would it be useful for you if you had a model, what I call the model of influence, a series of steps that you could follow that would just allow you to become more persuasive, more attractive, and get people to do what you want them to do in the moment based on your language? Would that be useful for you? I think it would. So therein lies what I want to share with you right now, which I call the model of influence. So this is the model or the formula for influence, what I would call the influence formula. And this is important to us because I guarantee you, if you're not selling enough of your products and services, if people aren't collaborating to your way of thinking or agreeing with you, I guarantee you there is a breakdown in one or all of these three steps. So let's move into these step by step. I think you're really going to enjoy this. Step number one is this in the formula for influence. The first step in influencing another person is create rapport. Create rapport. Rapport is the gateway to effective communication. With rapport, you can do incredible things with another person. Without it, you can hardly do anything. Rapport is defined as an enhanced feeling of trust and responsiveness between two people. It's based on the fact that when people feel like they have something in common with another person, they feel comfortable around them. It creates comfort. It creates likability. It creates trust. Think about it in your own life, but think of your best friend, or think of somebody that you're most comfortable with, your best friend, your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and think about that. One of the reasons you feel comfortable around them is because you have things in common with them. So rapport really gets ignited by a feeling of commonality. So the obvious question is well, how do we create it with complete strangers? How do I create it with somebody that I don't know? And the first thing you need to understand about rapport is this, is that your state of mind and your intention and your emotion, your dominant driving emotion, in other words, how you feel in the moment, has more of an effect on rapport than you might be aware of. You need to understand something called mirror neurons. In your brain right now, you have 100 billion neurons. And these are nerve cells. And whenever you think a thought, you make a connection between these nerve cells, and then it secretes chemicals throughout your brain and body, and you start to feel a certain way. Well, what we know is this: within our brains, we also have what are called mirror neurons. And these mirror neurons do just that. They have mirroring capabilities based on what's going on inside somebody's head. So if you have an intention to serve, to help, to make a difference, to really connect with that other person, to give, to add value, and that's your dominant driving intention, and you have an intense feeling going into something, what it will do is it will trigger these mirror neurons inside somebody else, and they'll just get a good intuition about you. They'll get a good feeling about you, and they won't even know why. And they used to say this about spiritual leaders like Gandhi and Mother Teresa or Jesus Christ. They would say just their presence alone would elevate the energy of everyone else in the room. And I really believe one of the reasons was, yes, obviously they were extraordinary spiritual leaders, but it's because mirror neurons. Because it's what we know about mirror neurons. They had nothing but love inside them. And so because of that, they would elevate the energy of everyone else. And people would say, well, that's because they had this infamous reputation. Absolutely not. There were people that didn't know of Mother Teresa at the time, or Gandhi at the time, or even Christ at the time. But something about their presence would elevate the energy. It's because all they had inside them was love. Remember this phrase: you can't give away what you don't have inside you. But what you do have inside you, you're always giving away. So first is this: if your intention is to serve and add value and really make a difference in this person's life, and you're genuinely, sincerely interested in them, they will pick it up. It will trigger their mirror neurons, and they will feel the exact same way about you. The second thing about rapport is this. How do we create it? Well, what most people try to do when they're creating rapport is they ask questions, which makes sense. Questions can be powerful because questions are really a tool that we use to find something in common with somebody else. So it would be like if you and I were talking and I said, hey, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And you said, oh, I'm from Arizona. And I say, no kidding, I'm from Arizona. What city did you grow up in? Tempe? I'm from Tempe. No kidding, what school did you go to? What university? You went to Arizona State? I went to Arizona State. And now there's this energy, right? So now we're in rapport. There's this magnetic energy because we have something in common. The key you need to understand about rapport is this. It can be gained or lost moment by moment. Rapport is an enhanced feeling of responsiveness between two people. So it can be gained or lost moment by moment. And the challenge with questions is, yes, they're powerful and yes, they work, but have you ever had the experience where you're trying to find something in common with this person and you're just, maybe it's because you're so different or you're not asking the right questions or you just don't have enough time, you have nothing in common with that person. The common example is what most people will do is they'll ask the basic questions like, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do for a living? And if you do that though, but what if there's somebody who says, okay, yeah, my name is Cleo. I'm from prison. And I actually rob people for a living. What are you going to say? Hey, me too. Where'd you do time? That's not going to work, right? But there is something that always works. And it's something that you're probably familiar with. And it's powerful because it will allow you to gain comfort and rapport with somebody outside their conscious awareness. And we call it matching and mirroring. We call it matching and mirroring. Now, whether you're familiar with matching or mirroring or not, here's the good news. The good news is this. You're already really good at matching and mirroring, because you already do this when you are in rapport with somebody. Matching and mirroring is based on the fact that we tend to like people that are like us or like how we want to be. We tend to feel more connected and comfortable with people that communicate to us in our style. So if you talk real fast like that, then more than likely you're going to get along with people that talk a little bit faster. You'll connect with them much easier. People that talk slow like this tend to get along more with people that talk slower like that. Are you with me on that? So think of it like this. The more you can become like someone, the more that person will like you. I mean, think about it. Doesn't this make sense? We tend to feel most comfortable around people that communicate in our style. So if we want to serve and lead and help other people, we have to first be able to enter their world. We have to really be able to understand what's driving them. And the only way we're really going to do that is to develop this level of connection where they feel connected to us. So matching and mirroring will allow us to do that. I like to call it more echoing than anything else, because here's the thing. If you mimic somebody, okay, if somebody goes like this and then you immediately go like that and then they go like this, they're going to pick up on it, right? But if you subtly and slowly just mirror or echo certain aspects of how they communicate with you, they will feel connected to you. So knowing what we know about, remember, the model of communication, what carries most of the weight of communication? Body language, right? So this is what's great, because you can develop a deep level of rapport with somebody and not have to say a word. And I know you've seen this before. Have you ever seen two people, let's say at a social gathering, and you'll see a husband and a wife, and they're deeply connected with one another. They're in a deep conversation, and you almost see this synchronous dance going on back and forth. That's because they're in rapport. Now, this is key to remember too. All rapport is done to pace and lead. Rapport is done for the purpose of pacing and leading. What that means is that when you're really connecting with somebody and you're in rapport, what you can start to do is you can start to lead them. You can subtly start to notice that when you move in, they'll start to move in. And then if you kind of move back, they'll start to move back. And as you do that, now you know that you're connected with them and you have rapport. So what are some things that you could subtly match and mirror or echo in other people? Well, let's start with the body. You could mirror gesture or postures. You could mirror facial expressions. I mean, you can get real precise with this and mirror even breathing. If you mirror breath rates or breathing, people will feel very connected to you. Another thing you can do is mirror blink rates, believe it or not. What else are some things that you could match and mirror with other people? What about voice? Tonality, voice inflection is another thing that you could mirror. What about the speed, the rate of speech, or the volume, if they talk real loud like this? What about the words? You know, if you meet somebody and they have a very rich, kind of profuse vocabulary and they use, kind of big language, they say words like prodigious or prolific or prodigy. I don't even know what those words mean. But anyway, if you use those words at the right time when you're communicating with that person, what it will do is it will light them up because those words appeal to their personality. Does that make sense? So always remember, the most powerful way to gain rapport with somebody else is through subtly matching and mirroring. Let's go on to step number 2. After you have this connection, this deep level of rapport, what do we want to do next? So step number 2 in our influence formula here is to create interest. Create interest. And creating interest is based on the fact that you want to think about what it is exactly that interests the person that you're talking to. In other words, what is this person's problems, needs, desires, and wants? What are they looking to accomplish? Everything today that people do is teleological in nature. Socrates said that. Basically, what he said is that everything that we do is aimed towards some sort of improvement, solving a problem or achieving a goal. In fact, influence is really a process of you uncovering and discovering a person's highest valued, their needs, wants, and emotions, and then linking that to yourself, your products, your services, your unique solutions in a way that really gets people to make a decision and take action for their reasons. Because think about it. In life, do people do things for our reasons or for their reasons? Always their reasons. Everyone listens to their favorite radio station, which is WIIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? So the more that you can know about what those reasons are, what's driving them, what their problems are, what their concerns are, what their needs are, what their deep, deep desires are, that's going to give you incredible leverage in the conversation. And that ties into what I want to share with you right now. There's a couple of principles that you want to remember when you're communicating with other people. Principle number 1 is this: the person that can go from abstract to specifics within their communication will have more influence in that conversation. What I mean by that is that the more that you can know about the reasons, the purpose, or the intention, or the motive as to why somebody is doing something or wants something, the more you have, the more reasons you have, the easier it is to influence that person. And the more you can go from those reasons to the specific desired results or the process of how they're going to obtain that results, the more power you're going to have in that conversation. Principle number 2 is this: the person that asks questions controls the conversation. Now here's what we know. We know that most of the time when it comes to influence, there's a direct relationship between your question proficiency and your ability to create results with other people. I mean, think about it. If you think of the greatest leaders of all time, they didn't necessarily tell us so much as they did ask us. Did Jesus Christ ask a lot of good questions? Did Martin Luther King ask a question about a dream? Did John F. Kennedy ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country? So the greatest leaders know how to strategically use questions with volition and intention, because principle number 3 is this: questions control what people focus on. Questions control what people focus on, and whatever people focus on, they feel and experience. They feel and experience. And does how we feel affect our behavior? Does it affect our ability to make decisions? Does it affect our overall attitude? Does it affect our motivation and our desires? Yes or no? Absolutely. Feelings drive behavior. Think of it like this: emotions distort evaluations. Emotions distort evaluations. The more emotion that you can activate and ramp up in another person, the more likely they are to do what you want them to do, the more of an impact and influence you're going to have on them. So let me ask you a question. Is it fair to say that as people, we're all 100% emotional? That we make decisions emotionally and we justify them logically? Most people would agree with that. But here's my question for you. Are there emotions that we experience throughout our days that are more intense in our mind and bodies than others? Yes or no? Absolutely. You want to take a shot at what do you think are the 2 most powerful emotions in the human experience? I've heard love and hate, but it's actually fear and desire. Fear and desire. Now let's do an experiment here. Tell me which emotion is more intense in your mind and in your body when it comes to creating interest. Pleasure in the future, or the anticipation of a goal that's in the future, or immediate fear, pain, and discomfort that you're feeling right now. Which one has more intensity of you? Usually most people would say it's fear, pain, and discomfort. In fact, people are 2.5 times more likely to avoid pain than they are get pleasure. They're 2.5 times more likely to avoid losses than they are gains. So knowing that can be very powerful in our ability to get interest and get somebody's full engagement and full attention. What do I mean? Well, if you ask somebody a question about a problem, fear, or worry that you know they have, you make an assumption based on a fear, problem, or worry that you're pretty likely that they have, will that get their interest, yes or no? Absolutely. And people always say to me, well, Matt, how do I actually do that? How would I go about structuring that? And the way you would do it is this. First thing I would do is I would say, hey, can I ask you a real quick question? This is all assuming that you have a high level of rapport, right? So they have that enhanced feeling of responsiveness between you. But then you might want to say something like, hey, could I ask you a real quick question? They say, yeah, sure. When you ask them that, what they're basically saying is, yes, you may ask me the question, and yes, they will what? They will answer. And you would say something like this, I don't know if this is relevant to you, or I don't know if you can relate to this, or I'm not sure if this makes sense. Now, why would you want to say that? Because whenever you say these kinds of phrases, I call them linguistic softeners, it creates a tone in the conversation that you're genuine and you're sincere. Does that make sense? People don't like to be manipulated. They don't like to be sold. They don't want to be jostled or jostled into position. They want to just feel relaxed. So when you make these kind of statements, it creates a tone or an atmosphere. You're just saying, hey, I don't know if this would even be relevant to you. It probably isn't. I don't know if you can relate. I don't know. But that's a hypnotic phrase in and of itself. Because if I said to you, don't think of the color blue. I don't think you should think of the color blue. I don't think you should think. Where did your mind go? It's called a negation. And what it means is that you can't think about what you don't want to think about without first having to think about it. So what I would say is something like that. I would say something like, I don't know if this would be relevant to you, but in talking with other people, they've told me that some of their biggest problems, fears, and worries are this, this, and this. Can you relate to that? Does that make sense to you? Or another way you could structure it is this. You could say something like, I don't know if this would relate to you or not, but I was having a conversation with this guy who had so much talent. Have you ever really wondered why people can have so much talent, skill, capability, but they play small? Now, what did I just do? By saying that phrase, have you ever wondered why it creates a context? Have you ever wondered why some people are better than others? Have you ever wondered why some people get excited? Have you ever wondered why some people are more positive? Whenever you say that, it creates a frame. They say, no, yeah, that's right. And now you have a topic that you can move into. So creating interest is absolutely key in getting people. So you always want to be asking yourself, well, wait a minute here. What's this person's level of engagement? Do I really have their full attention? Are they riveted? Do I have their interest? Do I know enough about them? Okay, let's move into step number 3. Step number 3 is create solutions. Create solutions. Creating solutions is based on the fact that people buy into what they create. What that really means is that the more a person is an active participant in a conversation with you rather than a passive recipient, the more likely they are to take action. The more likely they are to do what you want them to do. And to do that, what we really have to do is we have to ask the right questions at the right time. So there's a series of questions that I want to give you right now. There's what I call a questioning methodology that you can kind of move somebody through, because remember, there's a direct relationship between our question proficiency and our ability to get other people to do what we want them to do and agree with us. The way that you want to do that is walk them through this questioning methodology. So this is the questioning framework, and what this will do for you is it will give you some guidelines or some steps that you can follow so that you're more persuasive and attractive with your language and with your questions to really influence other people and get them to do what you want them to do, but for their reasons. So they're actively involved. They're an active participant, understanding that people always buy into what they help create and what they collaborate with. So let's dive into these. I think you're going to find this a lot of fun. Step number 1 is this. When it comes to creating solutions for people, step number 1 is this is where you want to diagnose and explore the situation. In other words, you want to find out what's most important to them, why that's important to them, how that's important to them, what would that give them, what are they looking for most in this situation. Remember what we talked about earlier, the more that we can know the reasons, the motives, the drives, the desires as to why somebody's doing something, the easier it is for us to make solutions and the more we can influence them. So that's step 1. Step Step number 2 is this. After we diagnose and explore, this is critical. We want to clarify, magnify, and quantify the solution. And what this really does is this will allow us to make something that might be a little bit a solution, that might be somewhat intangible or lacks substance. This gives it substance. This gives it punch. It gives it more meaning. And the way you would do that is you would ask something like this. You would segue it off and you say, you know what, Matt, if we were able to do this for you, what would this mean financially? Or what would this mean specifically? Or what would this do for you? Or what would this give you? And you say, well, geez, it would give me this, it would mean this, it would make a difference in my career. And then you could segue into this. Well, Matt, how would you go about doing that? Or what specifically would have to happen for you to feel like you've achieved that? Well, you know what, John? I'd have to feel like I did this, 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 and this. And that leads us into step number 3. Step number 3 is where we gain agreement. We gain mind share now. And the way you segue into that is with this phrase. It's a brilliant phrase. You would say, well, Matt, in your opinion, do you feel? See, when you ask somebody, in your opinion, do you feel? Or do you feel in your opinion, Matt, if we were able to do this, what that does is most of the time people find it very difficult to disagree with their own opinions. Does that make sense? So it's a very subtle, sincere way of getting people to align with you. You say, Matt, do you feel in your opinion, or in your opinion, do you feel? Or you'd say something like this. You say, Matt, have you considered what this would do? Have you considered what this would mean? Well, no, I haven't. Or Matt, what do you think would have to happen for you to get this? Well, I don't know. What do you think? Well, can I try a few ideas on you? Can I make a few suggestions? Are you with me on that? And then we can segue in to moving forward and wrapping up. And that's very easy. And this is where we use phrases like imagine, just suppose, or what if. See, when you say the word imagine, what do you think people start doing in their mind? They start imagining. So if you say, Matt, imagine for a moment, you know you said that this was really important. What if there was a way that we could do this? Or Matt, just suppose. Or Matt, if you were to. I'm not saying you're gonna, but if you were to. See, you have to understand the mind doesn't know the difference between something that we vividly imagine with feeling and something that we've actually experienced. So if you say, you know what, Matt, I don't know if you can do this, but if you were to, it's kind of like saying hypothetically speaking, and their mind goes in that direction. Remember what we said, whatever they focus on, they start to feel. And when they feel it, it distorts evaluations. It's hypnotic. It makes you much more suggestible. And then you would say this one phrase. You say, Matt, well, you know you said this, this, and this was important. What if we were able to do this? Or if you were able to do this, what would that give you? And then you say, Matt, well, if I could show you how we could do this, would you maybe give it a try? If I could show you how we could do this, would you want to do it? Would it make sense to you? Would it help you? Would that be okay? And notice my posture here. Notice my body language. Right at the point of where I'm about ready to ask them to do something, I make an open palm gesture. Remember what we talked about body language, how when we open up here, people open up their mind. Notice my feet are facing forward. So remember, influence is a process. It's a two-way process of you uncovering and discovering a person's highest valued needs, wants, and emotions, and then linking that to yourself, your products, your services, your solutions in a way that gets them to take action now for their reasons. Follow this methodology, try it on for size, have fun with these tools and these questions, and I think you'll be astonished as to what happens when you're working with other people. You know, if you've enjoyed this video series, I'd like to be able to serve you even more and give you an opportunity to go even deeper and just very quickly elevate your ability to lead, achieve, and change. Because, you know, no matter how good you're doing right now, I know you've got a great life, but if you're being honest with yourself, are there maybe some areas of your life that don't meet your expectations right now? Are there maybe even some problems right now that have just been kind of lingering around too long, or they're kind of keeping you stuck? They're preventing you from experiencing the joy and the freedom that you really deserve and desire. And they might even be creating some stress, some overwhelm, some anxiety, whatever those problems are, whether they're personal, whether they're professional, whether they're, financial, emotional, physical, they're in your relationships. Trust me, I've been through all of these. The good news is this, you can turn them around very quickly today. And let me explain what I mean, and I think this will make a lot of sense. Would you agree that today in the 21st century, we live in some amazing times where there have just been incredible advancements and breakthroughs in science, medicine, technology, to name just a few. Yeah, all you got to do is look around you. It's pretty extraordinary times that we're living in right now. Well, there have also been huge advancements and breakthroughs just recently in the sciences of change and achievement. The neurosciences, psychology, what I call optimal change strategies. And, for the past 2 decades of my life, this has been a real passion of mine. So because of that, I have a new, unreleased, remarkable audio training program that has these kind of new 21st century strategies built into the program. It's a program on leadership, personal and professional effectiveness today in the 21st century, change and transformation. It's a program designed for one purpose, getting you results, getting you from where you are right now to where you want to be in the shortest period of time. And while you're doing that, you're enjoying yourself along the way. And this is it right here. This is it's really the result. This program is the result of me literally kind of synthesizing and testing everything that I've learned over the course of my 15-year career as a professional speaker, seminar leader, corporate trainer, consultant, and coach, and then just incorporating the best practice secrets from neuroscience, neurolinguistics, psychology, optimal change strategy, selling, leadership, influence, persuasion, negotiation, marketing, time management, and just everything that I've learned condensed into this case. It is literally a gold mine of wealth, strategy, and content. And I'll tell you why I'm so passionate about this. One of the success secrets that I learned years ago, and just countless other people that I know now that are multimillionaires, is to constantly listen to audio programs. I've been listening to audio programs since I was 22 years old. I've been listening to them my whole life. They literally changed my life. I listen to them when I'm working out. I listen to them in the car. I listen to them when I'm working around the house because I'm always feeding my mind with new ideas and strategies to not only make me feel better, but actually teach me to tap more of my own potential in that particular area. And I want you to get this because wherever you are in your life right now, I know these strategies can get you to that next level, can get you to turn everything around and break through. The other thing that I know this program will do for you when you get it is 2 things. Number 1 is there's a level of just unconscious competence and mastery that you will get when you listen to something over and over again. And the second thing it will do for you is this. I have designed this in a very strategic, tactical way. I've designed this so that you're going to feel like I'm right there working with you. I know that's kind of a scary thought, but it's designed in a very specific way so that you learn very quickly. Because I really believe that when you can teach something to somebody else, which is what you're going to learn how to do, you own it. You now have attained a level of mastery that is just it's unsurpassed, it's unmatched. And so I know this will work for you. So I've designed it in a very specific, strategic way. The other thing is this. So let me tell you very quickly what you're going to get and what you're going to learn from this program. This program is over 8 hours. It's 10 CDs, 10 discs over 8 hours, broken up into 6 parts. Part 1, the first part of this audio program, is called The Power of Your Unconscious Mind. And this is where you're going to understand and learn how to harness the power of your unconscious mind. Because here's what we know. 95% of what we think, feel, and do throughout the day is unconscious in nature. So you're going to learn how to get your unconscious mind working for you rather than against you. Here's the problem that most people face. If you've ever wondered why you started something and you never finished it, you want to make a change, but you take 2 steps forward and 4 steps backwards, or you got some great ideas, but you never acted on them, or they motivated you, but you went back to your old habits after a while, it's because the changes didn't happen at the unconscious level. So all pervasive, lasting change happens at the unconscious level. So what this is going to show you and teach you how to do is to ensure it's going to teach you how when you make your changes, they last and they actually happen very fast. Part 2 that we move into, is disc 3 and 4, is how it's called How Your Mentality Shapes Your Reality. See, would you agree that we all have a very unique way of looking at life? And that way of looking at life is taking and shaping our life in a very specific way. It takes our life in a certain direction. You know, Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey, Richard Branson, Mother Teresa, God rest her soul. All those people had a very unique way of looking at life that makes them who they are. So you right now, in your unconscious mind, have what's called a map of reality. And this map of reality is taking your life right now in a certain direction. It's controlling what you see in the moment, what you believe. It's controlling your urges, your desires, your attitudes, your interests, what appeals to your personality. So you're going to learn how to change your map of reality so that it's matched up with your new goals, dreams, and desires, and you're pulled towards those automatically. Kind of like iron filings to a magnet. And you're moved now to the new destinations of health, wealth, and success. Part 3 is called Mastering the Forces that Shape Our Experiences. See, what's really shaping your results in the moment? because it's never what happens to us. It's how we interpret that experience, and the actions are what we do with it that really determines the results that we get. So you're going to learn something. This is all about what I call optimal performance conditioning. This is powerful. It's a way of training your mind and body so that you perform at an extraordinary high level in the moment with not only a level of just presence and engagement, but a level of expectancy. See, one of the things that I've learned, you can look at any great performer or athlete. I love sports. So if you look at any great athlete, they'll all say the same thing. Before they took the shot, they already know it was going in. Before that performer took the stage, they knew they were going to crush it. Before that top salesperson went out on that sales call, they already knew they were going to get the sale. What would it do for your life if you're operating with that kind of level of expectancy? You're going to learn how to create that. And think about this. What would it do in your life right now if you could eliminate 95% of your fears, worries, and doubts? That's what you're going to learn to do. Part 4, this is a big one. Overcoming procrastination. I mean, do I need to say any more? What would it be worth if once and for all you could overcome procrastination? And maybe you don't procrastinate. I haven't met a human being yet that doesn't, but maybe you're one of those rare people that don't. But here's my point. Are you consistently and congruently following through with a level of expectancy that's going to get you to where you really want to go? So you're going to learn how to you're going to discover the unconscious desires that drive you to want to do things based on your personality type, and the things that drive you to not want to do things, and how to change that. So all the things in your life that you know you need to do more of, you're following through consistently. Part 5 is a big one. It's called high performance living. High performance living. You know, what are the most successful people, the highest paid achievers? How do they live? How do they plan out their day? How do they produce so much and have so much fulfillment and joy in their life? What are the specific strategies, systems of prioritizing, planning, and really achieving and just practically executing every single day that allow them to produce at such high levels? You're going to learn that, and you're going to do it for yourself. And then part 6, we bring it all together, and it's called incorporating and cultivating success habits. This is where you're going to learn habits and routines that are going to really reinforce this new practical way of living for you. You're going to learn how to practically, in an appealing way, incorporate new habits so that this new lifestyle of success, high performance, achievement, and fulfillment, it appeals to your personality, and it's reinforced because you have the habits and the routines. So I think by now you can probably tell this is a very comprehensive, content-rich program. In fact, I can tell you that just to give you an idea about the content that I put into programs like this, I've been paid several $1,000s just to speak and train for 1 hour. And the reason is because of the content and the strategy that I deliver to people. If you know anything about me, you know that I deliver a lot of high content and strategy that's more new and cutting edge. So this program is over 8 hours. It's 10 discs long. So I got to tell you, a program like this could easily go for, $350, $400, $500. In fact, I know other experts that sell out their programs for that. But because I want to make this a really great value for you, for the first 1,000 people only, because we have 1,000 of these on inventory and then they're gone, for the first 1,000 people only, it's only $149. $149 plus, I think it's like $8 shipping and handling, whatever it costs to get it out to you. So it's only $149 plus the $8 shipping and handling. And in addition to that, this is great. I've worked something out with PayPal so that you can do 6 months interest-free financing. You can get the product, you can own it, you can experience the results. And then once it reaches that 6-month marker, if you pay it off before the 6th month, there's no interest. And in addition to that, to just completely eliminate any kind of risk so that you're absolutely certain that this is the right choice for you, I have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can try it out, test out the program, see what you think, and if for whatever reason it's not your thing, it's not for you, send it back to us and we'll refund every penny. But I got to tell you, I'll be absolutely shocked if you're not blown away by the first disc alone. And there's 10 of them in here. There's 10 of them in here. And you might be thinking, well, geez, Matt, why are you doing this? I mean, because we had a previous version of this that we offered for $300. Why are you giving this away for such a good deal? And I'll tell you why. I'm doing this for 2 reasons. I think by now you can tell I care about people. I care about you. I know these tools will work for you wherever you're at in your life right now. So I really kind of feel like this is, if I make this such a good deal and I give you a lot of good value and I really eliminate the risk, you'll take action. You'll get it. The other reason is this, because I absolutely know this is going to change your life. I'm going to follow up with you in a couple of weeks. I'm going to reach out to you and send you an email. I want to hear your successes. I live for this stuff. I want to see how these tools, just like they've done for me, are working in your life and allowing you to break through. So who knows, maybe you'll write me a nice testimonial, but the tools were here. It's right here. I absolutely know this will work for you. And you might be thinking, well, Matt, can you guarantee me that I'll get results with this? Look, ethically, legally, okay? I can't do that. You can't guarantee anything because I don't know you. I don't know you personally, but here's what I can tell you. The tools are here. The distinctions, the strategies are here. Doesn't it just make sense logically? If these kind of tools and distinctions have worked with thousands and thousands of other people, why can't they work for you? You know, I cannot tell you how many people have told me, Matt, I've tried other things, I did this, I did that, but these were the distinctions that got me to break through, that really got me to achieve and turn it all around. You've waited long enough for something that's really going to work for you. The tools and the strategies and the distinctions are here. You know, there is a new movement of leaders out there. People like yourself, entrepreneurs, men and women that are learning to use more of their mental, intellectual, physical, and emotional faculties, and they're doing more in 2 months than their competitors have done in 2 years, and they are leaving the competition in the dust. Be part of this new movement. Be part of this new elite movement of leaders and achievers. You've waited long enough for something that's really going to put you over the edge and get you the results for yourself and for your family. I always think, why should somebody else out there get to live your results or have the lifestyle or the quality of life that you know you deserve and desire? The tools are here. The distinctions are here. Like I said, I'd be shocked if you're not blown away by the first disc alone, and there's 10 of them here. So just remember, it is your time now. Hit the add to cart button right now. Let's start this journey together. I can't wait to get started with you. Hit the add to cart button right now. It's your time now. It's your time to take action and get the results that you know you deserve and desire. Let's start this together. I think you're really going to love this. Hit the add to cart button right now, and always remember to live and love every moment of your life with joy and enthusiasm. Hit the add to cart button right now, and I'll see you on the other side.